Hi there. Welcome to another episode of the Gender Watch podcast as we continue to navigate the dynamics of politics and gender in the lead up to the 2024 elections. Today, we're taking a deeper dive into the manifestos of the two leading political parties. I'm talking about the governing NPP and the opposition NDC. Welcome once again. I'm Regina Bolibote. Now, women make up more than half of Ghana's population, yet their representation in politics and influence in decision-making processes remains a critical area of discussion. So today, we're aiming to understand how the two major political parties plan to address the concerns, needs, and aspirations of Ghanaian women through their 2024 manifestos. We'll be speaking with representatives from both the NDC and the NPP to hear firsthand how they plan to support women's economic empowerment, improve health and social services, expand opportunities for education and skills development, and ensure increased political participation and leadership for women. So do stay tuned as we explore their promises and commitments and hold these parties accountable to the expectations of Ghanaian women. Let's get started. I'm very excited to be joined in the studio by a very industrious young woman from the fold of the governing NPP. And we'll be talking about the 2024 manifesto of the NPP as it relates to provisions on gender, women, and girls. So help me welcome our guest for this particular discussion, Adjoa Ampofoa Atifwa. She is a nurse and president of the NPP Women's Wing Maiding. Adjoa, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Aya Institute, for inviting me.
Yes, I'm excited because I look at you and I'm proud. It's not you don't see too often young women joining politics and making their voices heard and being part of, the processes that ensure that we elect a leader that would govern the country. So I'm excited to have this conversation with you. And I assume that you joined politics, education, maybe tertiary. I don't know. What. Tell me about your journey as far as politics is concerned.
Thank you very much. And before I begin, I would like to send a special greeting to the Elephant family, yes, especially to the incoming president, Alhaji Dr. Baumia, and his incoming vice president, Dr. Matthew Poku Prempe. I also want to send a special greeting to the National Women's Wing, especially to the National Women's Organizer, Mama Kejemfua, and to the Deputy National Women's Organizer, Mimi Gia, whom I'm representing today. Okay, thank you once again. I'm also excited because, we as women often tend to do much. However, we are turned aback because of how the society addresses women, especially women in politics. But until we decide to change the status quo, women would continue to be underrepresented. So for me, I think some of us need to lead for others to follow.
Which is why I'm excited that you're leading. So
I'm excited as well.
Should I say congratulations to you or thank you for showing the way? Which one?
Okay, congratulations to you.
Okay, great. So I'm glad that you are leading and other people will learn from your example. So talk to us about your journey into politics. How did it all begin?
Thank you very much. Well, I've always loved politics. And I've been around people who were into politics, but I didn't really know how I was going to navigate my way into politics. But fortunately for me, I went to tertiary and I happened to be in a room with a lady who was already doing politics at home before coming to school. So I remember even before I joined TESCON on campus, this lady would take me to her constituency and then would help with the people over there to go and campaign, talk to people and stuff. And then by doing so, I took interest. So then the next thing was how to also, impact or do something for the school in which we are. Unfortunately, maybe I had a soft spot for NPP. So I decided to join TESCON on campus, and that was where it started from. Yes.
Okay, so from TESCON, and I guess you're an executive of TESCON?
Yes, I was. Okay,
Okay.
initially, I was a research officer for TESCON. Then I became a women's commissioner 2 times. Then, yeah, that was all before I completed. Yes.
It's interesting you've mentioned women's commissioner. I've been of the view that there are certain positions, especially on campus, that's the only thing that a woman can aspire to. General secretary, SRC elections, and then women's commissioner. I don't know what you think about that. It's like that's all that we're allowed to do on campus, and as far as student politics is concerned.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, you are right. I'll agree with you. I remember, but during my tenure of office, let's say, I had a female as a president. But I remember the election wasn't easy. It wasn't because, since the onset of TESCON in every campus, when they say a person is a TESCON president, it's usually a male.
Okay.
So I remember during my tenure, I had this female who was courageous, hardworking, and then she wanted to be the president. And trust you me, it wasn't easy. And mind you, elections on campus are not only campus based, even though the election is held on campus, so many factors go into it. So you have external forces trying to go with the normal status quo of promoting men to be the president. But we were resolute, we knew we wanted a change. So we stood our grounds, and then during my tenure of office, we had a female as a president. That was one thing we did. And then I think I saw other campuses doing it, and now I think we are changing the narrative.
Which university are we talking about?
Ghanaian City University College.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So that's kudos to Ghanaian City University College for being progressive enough to have a female president at the time. Let's now talk about today's topic. Of course, we talked about the background and how you found yourself in the fold of the governing NPP. But let's talk about today's topic. We're looking at political party manifestos, gender, and election 2024. And before we even delve into the very specific provisions that the governing NPP has outlined in the manifesto, which was launched months ago, tell me about, what you think. There's this general assumption that political parties usually relegate gender issues to the background. So most often than not, the provisions in the manifesto on gender are usually or is usually an afterthought.
Well, I would agree with you and disagree, but let's say NPP, I would say when it comes to gender policies, are the leaders, yes. We can talk about other political parties, but one thing I know about my party, NPP, is that we will always include women. Yes, I would agree with you that the representation or what is done for women is little, but I believe in the baby steps. I believe it is better than none. Yes, so in as much as we would complain or agree that women are not given what we duly deserve, I would say that, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with the steps, and we are making the steps. I believe in some time to come, women will be fully represented, and then get our quota as we demand.
Let's hope for that day to come, because I've looked through the NPP manifesto, the one you're campaigning on for the 2024 elections. And while looking through the provisions that relate to gender and women, I was just seeing about 2 pages. And I was wondering, is that enough for a significant portion of the population, a group that contributes so much? Because if you look at economy, if you look at energy, if you look at infrastructure, look at agriculture, there's so much in that. 2 pages.
Okay, so I would agree with you that for 2 pages, it is, little. But like I said, we are making baby steps.
Okay.
If we are to compare our manifesto to others, I don't want to mention our political party because we are here for my political party, then I would say that my political party is doing its part. And like I said, we are making baby steps, and we hope that in the future we are going to improve and then represent and give women more representation. in the manifesto.
So you're listening or watching the Gender Watch podcast, where we are tabling issues of gender as they relate to politics, media, and society in our preparations for election 2024. We're having a conversation with Adjoa Ampofowa Tifwa, the president of the NPP Women's Wing Meetings. We're talking about political party manifestos and what the NPP as a political party has in store for women of the country. So, Adjoa, let's start with provisions as contained in the manifesto that relates to economic empowerment of women in Ghana.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so like you said earlier, the population of women as compared to men is small. And considering that, we can clearly define that women tend to do more, especially even with the homes and every economic situation. So as part of our manifesto, we are hoping to improve upon lives of women and children. But women take care of children, so let's target our women. So to do that, we have implemented certain laws. Yes, some are yet to be implemented. Others are already in place, and then we are seeking to improve upon them. Okay, with the economy, I can say that when you go to a MASLOG, which is the microfinance and small loans, 50% of the revenue they generate there has been dedicated to women. So before even everybody does the application for a MASLOG loan, we are rest assured that 50% of the money has been reserved for women, which I think is a very good thing to do. Also, we've put in place certain measures that women can also make, some little money, and it comes with our school feeding. So our school feeding programs, the caterers are all women. We know we have male chefs and stuff, but men are not included in the school feeding program. So yes, the contract has been awarded to women. We started it about some years ago, and now we are looking to improve upon it. And one of the ways we are doing that is that we are increasing the money we pay per child on feeding. Yeah. So initially it was 80. It was increased from 80 cedis to 1 cedi 20%, and we are hoping to do more. Yeah. So in the sector of economy, I believe this will also help. Also, we are trying to generate funds for women in agriculture. So this fund is called the Women. I'm not so sure. I think I remember as time goes on. But this fund is to help
the Trade Empowerment Fund.
The Women Trade Empowerment Fund. Thank you very much. So this fund is to support women in agriculture or women-owned businesses. So we have women who have their businesses but are struggling. And mind you, we have women who are also in technology. We have women in trade. We have women in engineering. Yeah, they are struggling with their businesses, but we are hoping that with this fund, it can go a long way to help them. Yes.
Okay, so I've taken note. MASLOG, 50% reserved for women. Then you've talked about the school feeding program, where majority, or all really,
all of them are
the caterers are women. And then this fund, Women's Trade Empowerment Fund, that is seeking to provide loans and grants to women in businesses. So in terms of these are for women-owned businesses. But let's talk about women in the public sector, for instance. There's been a lot of talk about maternity leave, whether there needs to be an extension, even the issue about paternity leave, whether that should be a consideration. I did hear the finance minister, when he presented the media budget to Parliament, say that there will be there's a labor law that is in the works, and it will capture all these things. What exactly is the NPP promising as far as maternity leave is concerned, as far as even safety for women at the workplace is concerned?
Thank you very much. Okay, so with maternity is something we do already. Yes, we implemented that, and then it's ongoing. But the problem is that we have not really see the full benefit thereof, and we are seeking to improve upon it. And what we seek to do is that when women go on maternity, they are entitled to certain amenities, let's say. But in Ghana here, sometimes the woman will go on maternity leave, return, and then it is yet
The job is not even
no, it
guaranteed or
is not
secured.
guaranteed exactly. And then sometimes they don't even receive what they are supposed to receive while they are home. And so we are seeking to improve upon it, and it is part of our manifesto. Secondly, to when women, you see, women return from maternity exactly after 6 months, and I'm a nurse, so just imagine you leaving your toddler at home and going to the hospital facility to take care of other people's children, whilst yours is left with a nanny. So, as part of our manifesto, we want to collaborate with other private sectors to establish daycare centers around the facilities of women, both women in public, both public, private sectors, even those at the market, so that informal sectors, exactly, so that when these women are at their workplaces, they are rest assured that their kids are in safer hands. And we are not just going to employ anybody to take care of these people. They are going to be trained personnel. We are going to have even nurses as well who will be around those facilities to make sure that the children are in safer hands. Yes, and we are going to establish these daycares at both the private and the public sectors. Yes.
Okay. Just one final bit on the economic empowerment of women. And we talked about informal workers, but then a majority, a chunk of Ghanaian women are also farmers. The issue of agriculture, land ownership, access to loans for these women farmers. Talk to us about the NPP's plans, because I see in your manifesto saying that you'd secure women's land rights both in agricultural and other economic activities by reaffirming your commitment to effective implementation of the Land Act 2020. What other plans, as far as women agriculture is concerned, does the NPP have for Ghanaian women?
Thank you very much. So, I think I read an article about 3 days ago, and the article was comparing women that owns their personal land as compared to men, and you wouldn't believe it. It was something else, and this is what we seek to do. We want to take the initiative. So we go to women farmers, because most of these farmers, from the survey we had, is that the farmland belongs to men, and some of them are renting
Merely
it. Yeah,
caretakers.
yes, they are caretakers. Yeah, so they pay a monthly rent for the lands. Yes. Meanwhile, they do most of the work, and in fact, they also share their farm produce with the men. Even though they are paying rent, they have percentage in it. So in actual fact, after doing the whole thing, they don't end up getting much. So we are taking initiative. We are talking to women farmers who are interested in farming activities. We will secure them the land. We are not only going to help them to register, but we are securing those who don't have the lands, and make sure we go through all the processes to do the land registrations in their name. Yes, so that they can own their own land and say, "This is my land." We believe by doing so, it will reduce the cost of renting, because if she's paying maybe 1,000, 2,000 for renting now, the land belongs to her. So that money will be saved, and then it will be, used for something else. Yeah, which will also improve the economy. And I believe it will also, bring more women on board for farming, because most of them are interested in farming, but they don't know how to go about it.
Or they think that it's very costly.
It's
to
costly.
be a farmer
It's
is not an
costly.
easy job.
It is. So, like I said, so land is one of the things. Then secondly, we are going to give them grants and loans as well. Yeah. So even Maslow have I think they have a plan for female farmers. Yes. So when we secure the land, we can also guide them on how to apply for Maslow loans, to start their farming activities.
Okay.
Yes.
Ajua Ampofo Atifa is the president of the NPP Women's Wing Maidens, also a nurse and a research officer. We're discussing the NPP's 2024 manifesto, specific focus on plans, promises as relates to women in Ghana. Ajua, because the NPP is in power, of course, we cannot talk about your plans without referring to what has happened in the past. And this next question is important that we refer to what has happened in the past. And this is about affirmative action. Finally, after so many years as a country and following years of activism and effort from society organizations, we finally have, as a country, we have an affirmative action and gender equity law. Yes, the president assented to that 2 weeks ago. So first, congratulations, because I do know that when he assumed office in 2017 and when he was named the AU Gender Champion, he promised that he would see to it that the affirmative action bill is passed into law. Of course, it was a time-bound promise. It didn't happen then. But then, well, better late than never, they say. They've passed it. Your thoughts about that activism that went into getting Ghana an affirmative action law in the first place?
Okay, thank you very much. And then thank you also for congratulating us. And like I said, my party, NPP, would always make sure we have the people of Ghana at heart, especially our women. So give this one to us here. I believe we have done well. So, well, I think passing the bill is even enough reason why Ghanaians should trust us. But secondly, too, like I said, the population of Ghana would always give women to be more than men. And therefore, I believe this bill would, give we women an upper hand because, in fact, if you read it into details, you realize that.
So, Ajah, before we talk about the prospects of the law, I want to know your thoughts about why it has taken so long to get to this point where Ghana has an affirmative action law.
Well,
as somebody who's doing politics as a woman, just share your opinion, really. Why do you think it has taken us this long?
Okay, so we are in Ghana, and then you know the patriarchy system. You know, men have always been represented in a way, and I believe they have been comfortable over the years, and I believe when given opportunity, they would want it to, be that way. And so having to deal with all this and then having majority of men at positions, even in parliament, if we are to vote on this affirmative action bill, you can tell right from the beginning that if a lot of discussions hadn't gone into it, we wouldn't have been able to pass the bill.
Yes, and of course, we were monitoring the conversations in Parliament as they were deliberating the bill.
Yes, because the women there are few.
Yes.
And if all the men are to vote against the bill and all the women are to vote for, then we wouldn't have the bill now. So yes, that is why it has taken long. Because I believe we had to do an extensive discussion with the men. We had to explain matters to them to see the reason why they need to give their consents into passing the bill.
Okay.
And so I believe this is the reason why it has taken time, yes.
Okay. So let's talk about implementation of the affirmative action and equity law. How is the NPP planning to implement it, granted or provided it wins in December? Because we know and understand the kind of opposition that surrounded the deliberations even before this law was passed. In fact, it's because of the opposition that's why it's taking us so long to get to this point. How is the governing NPP hoping to implement this to ensure that the spirit and letter of the law is achieved?
Okay, thank you very much. So let's take it sector by sector. So with engineering, you agree with me that most men are in engineering than women. This is because we as women, have a lot of stuff that we go through that is no fault of ours. Yes, because as a woman, I mean, you have your monthly flow, which sometimes throw you off balance, or you have maybe a child to take care of, you have pregnancy to deal with and stuff. So women want to, I mean, always take the easy way out. But with the affirmative action, we want to put in place measures that even if women are going through all these phases of their lives, they will still be comfortable. I mean, maybe steady lecture, or everything will be so flexible that they would still want to, I mean, yes, venture into this aspect.
So if I get you correctly, you're trying to create the environment to make it easy for
exactly.
women to be able to venture into such male-dominated spaces.
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay, great. Let's talk about education. And that's important because free SHS has been if not the most important campaign message for the NPP. It was an important message for President Akufo-Addo when he wanted to be president, in 2020 when he was retained, and even now when Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, the vice president, is seeking to replace him. Free SHS is important. I'm mentioning free SHS because when you talk about education, people just look at the, on the surface, superficial, but because women bear the brunt a lot in families, take care of children, unpaid care work, and have to take care of their kids, their children, free SHS is seen as a big relief for women. But we also do know that the policy as is has issues. What is the NPP promising as far as the implementation of the free SHS is concerned, vis-a-vis the needs and concerns of women who are usually the breadwinners for their families?
Okay, thank you. Okay, in the beginning of the podcast, we established the fact that women are more than men. However, if you go to our SHS, you realize that the number of male enrollment is more than a female. So with affirmative action that has been implemented, we are given an equal quota. In fact, maybe more than. So if maybe in the past, if 70% of male are admitted in a school and then maybe 30% of women are able to make it, maybe with the same grades, we are looking forward to, give women an upper hand so that when a woman has 7 and a man has 7, maybe the woman will be picked to do medicine or engineering.
This is for tertiary institution.
Sorry, SHS. Sorry. So
from senior high school.
From senior high school to
the university.
No, even in the senior high school.
Okay.
So if let's say after completion of JHS, when they are, being admitted to school to offer the various courses. Yes. So women, let's say if the cutoff for a particular subject or course is, let's say, 13, and then a woman has 15, I believe a woman should be permitted to pursue that course. A woman should be, yes.
So is it a plan of action for the NPP?
It is not literally. Okay. But the NPP is seeking to give equal quota, yes, of representation of women as men. Yes. So if the school is accepting 100 people, we are looking forward that male will be 50 and female will be 50. Yes.
As part of the implementation of the free SHS?
Not the free SHS, but the free SHS is already ongoing, but this is to the affirmative action. So the bill has been passed now. Now, free SHS is a different entity. So now when it comes to the free SHS, if, let's say a school is admitting 100 people, then affirmative action is going to be applied there. It isn't going to be like the previous years, where you walk into a school and then you see the number of enrollment of male people to be 80 and then the female are just 20. No, so then it would follow suit. I don't know if you understand me.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it. So free SHS, implementing it, you're saying that the idea is to have some level of or some form of quota?
No.
Okay.
Okay, free SHS was implemented about a 8 years ago.
Yes, it's still being
Okay,
implemented.
about 7. Okay, so we are in the last year. It's still being implemented. And for the free SHS, if you make the grades and you qualify, you are admitted, you go to school. That is the process. Then, fortunately for us, we've implemented the affirmative action bill. So, to understand it better, we are saying that we intend to give an equal quota of female to male. In the sense that, let's say, if a school is admitting 100 people, and because of maybe using a cutoff point, so about 70 male have been able to make it to admission, and then just 30 female. And then there are maybe extra 20 female who were slightly below the requested or the required grade. We are given an equal quota. So once they are able to admit the 50 boys, I believe room will be made for 50 women to be admitted as well.
Okay. What's the NPP's plan for tackling gender-based violence? We know that we have a domestic violence fund, but that is very underfunded as we speak. What's the plan? Okay, so
it was included in our manifesto for 2025. I don't know if you've seen it.
You could refer me to portions of it, because I'm reading excerpts, and it says continue work aimed at ending violence and harmful traditional practices, as well as protecting the constitutional rights of all citizens, including women. So what specific actions will the NPP be taking to make this a reality?
Okay. There are laws already in place that seeks to address these issues. But the problem is that it is not properly, it's not being properly implemented. And so one of the things we seek to do is to make sure that the laws are implemented across board. In fact, across the various sectors of the economy, so that when a woman is working in a particular space, she's rest assured that when it comes to anything relating to gender violence, not even violence as such, but even harassment, yes. So we are going to put these measures in place that anybody who is found guilty would be dealt with. Yes, so we are going to make sure it is implemented, because the laws are already there, like I said, but we do not go by them. We don't take them serious. But this time round, it is going to be a serious thing to do. We are not going to joke with the laws. If anybody is caught in the act, I tell you the person will be dealt with.
Okay, so your message to Ghanaian women who are watching and listening to us is that as a political party, you frown against gender-based violence, and if elected, a future Baumia presidency is going to take that serious.
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about, and one of the main issues when you talk about women's needs is financing and allocations and budgeting for women. I see in a manifesto something about gender mainstreaming in annual budgets. Feels like lip service. It feels like this has been said over and over again. Sounds like a broken record, doesn't it?
It does, but like I said,
okay. So just talk to us really about what will change, because this is not the first time we're hearing such a promise. What will change? How will that be done differently?
Okay, thank you very much. Like you said, it is, and I mean, we as women, when it comes to matter of women, usually I put down party colors, because when a woman is, suffering from something, they do not ask which party color or which party you belong to. So I agree with you on this. What is going to change now is that the affirmative action is going to guide so many things. It is going to give women representation. Like I said, we are given at least 30% representation, meaning that if we were being represented in parliament, let's say 5 or 10%, now we have 30. And so
30.
Well, no, like 30. Let's say if the women representation.
So currently we have 40 women.
We have 40 women, yes. And this is by our own doing, not because a law was passed.
Yeah.
But now we are leveraging on the law, we are pushing ourselves. So we are seeing women representation in parliament, and even in other sectors in the near future to be more. Now, women would have a say because the numbers will favor us. And if the numbers are favoring us, we are sure to stand on our firm grounds that what has been written in the manifesto would go according to how it has been said.
I have a theory. I don't know if it's a conspiracy theory, but I've always believed that it's not necessarily about the numbers, is it? But the impact of the numbers. So it's not necessarily about a descriptive increase in women in parliament, but the substance of that increase. And so does having an affirmative action merely translate into more women issues being tabled, being heard, and being acted on?
Okay, thank you very much. And I believe you're right on that, but the numbers do matter. It does. Because when we are voting for or against something, no matter what the person would explain it to be, other than that, would have said that affirmative action or maybe other bills that were not passed in parliament were important bills, and just mere explanation to the members of parliament or anybody could have just said, oh, let's go with it. But in the end, we will still vote because we are a democratic country. And whether you like it or not, somebody will just vote against it and we can't do anything about it. So even if the women representation in parliament, I don't know, we want the quality of women there though. But if their numbers are high, believe you me, they are going to vote based on numbers, and then the numbers will favor us. It would. So in as much as we want the quality of women representation, we also need the numbers. But we would also make sure that the women representing us are not quantity but quality. Women who have earned it, women who can, lead the funds for women to, enjoy what we are supposed to.
And since we're talking about women and the NPP, I don't know if you have the data, readily available, but how many women are contesting parliamentary elections in December? Do you know?
In December.
Well, that's not data that
Okay.
you could have readily available. But then, what is the NPP's plan to ensure that we don't see a reduction of the women we have in parliament currently?
Okay, so when you come to my political party NPP, you realize that even the monies they pay for filing their forms, women pay half the amount the men are paying. And so even those who are with disabilities even end up paying less. Yes, so these are some of the measures we put in place. Yes, so that, women would be able to, contest. Yes.
Ajwa, let's, in wrapping up, just wrapping up, talk to us about the general overview. As a political party, where do you stand when it comes to women's needs, concerns, and their aspirations? And why should Ghanaian women take the NPP's word for it?
Okay, thank you very much. Like I said, we are addressing the issues of women, and like I said, we are taking baby steps. We are not there yet. As a woman, I believe they are not doing more for us. But one thing I know about the NPP is that it's always ahead of the others.
Okay.
Yes, it is. Well, Ghanaian women should believe in the NPP. One, because I believe the NPP, even though we are not doing much, always try to implement, laws that favors women a lot. One, we have the health insurance policy. Two, we have the free maternal care, where women have enjoyed and they are still enjoying now. We are seeking to improve upon it. We also have the free SHS because we know that anytime a child runs back home, it is our mothers who are running helter-skelter to make sure they get us money to pay our fees. So I believe the free SHS has gone a long way to help our mothers. It has, release some stress. And so these and many more. And then we have a lot in the manifesto as well, like getting women grants for agriculture, giving them loans to work. I believe it is not much, but we seek to do more.
Okay.
Yes. So they should believe in NPP, our party, because we've done much for them. I mean, the other parties cannot talk about any social intervention that has catered for the needs of women across Ghana,
Okay.
but we always do.
Okay.
So there's a need for them to believe in us and then give us their votes come December 7th. Yes.
All right, thank you very much. So that's Adjoa Ampofoa Atefua. She is a nurse, a research officer, and the president of the NPP Women's Wing Maidens. She's been talking to us about the NPP's 2024 manifesto and the plans and promises that the party has for the generality of Ghanaian women who, by the way, and you know that already, form a larger part, a majority of Ghana's population. This is a two-part conversation. We will also discuss the plans and promises that the NDC, the other political party, has for Ghanaian women as election 2024 inches closer. It's the Gender Watch podcast. I am Regina Boliboti. This is still the Gender Watch podcast, an initiative by the Aya Institute for Women, Media and Politics. And this episode, we've been exploring the plans and promises from the two main political parties for women in Ghana. Now, at this moment, I'd want to introduce our guest to have that conversation about the NDC's 2024 manifesto. I have with me Na Atwe Nyebe. She is an adjunct lecturer with a specialty in public relations and a member of the NDC's communications team. Na Atwe, welcome to the
Thank
Gender
you
Watch
so
podcast.
much.
I'm excited to have this conversation with you. Let me say, first of all, that you look astonishing.
I can see the view from the other side and it's safe.
Right, women supporting women. So I'm so interested in this conversation because I'd like to understand what the NDC has penciled down as far as women, girls, the plans you have, even as you campaign for the December 7 elections. But before we delve into that, I'm always interested in finding out how it all started, because we know this is a space that doesn't have a lot of women. So when I see women in politics, I'm super excited to talk to them about their origins and their journey. You want to share yours?
Ideally so. Thank you for having me. So I wasn't born into a politically active family. My dad, my mom, they are not politicians. Maybe I have brought them into politics.
Okay.
Yes, but politics started for me when I was in University of Cape Coast. Then I went through the ranks of student leadership, student activism, all the way to the SRC level. And so it was there and then that I saw that, okay, beyond student politics, there are political parties, you know, where the skills you've gathered, the platform you've explored on campus can be greater and you can make more impact beyond studentship. And then your impact can be felt nationwide. And so I decided that, well, of the two political parties, which of them is more for the people?
Okay.
Which of them is more for the masses? Which of them is more of a listening government? Which of them has more mentors I can look up to? Which of them, I mean, you know, has their ears on the ground listening to what the people want and doing accordingly? And I actually found that with the NDC.
Okay.
And so right after school, I decided that why not? Let me find a mentor in the NDC, someone to mentor me. And I went to find one, but I got numerous. So I want to mention names here.
Okay.
I got numerous. And so that's how come I'm here. I made the pledge myself that beyond student politics, let me go into national politics. And of the two main political parties, I think that the NDC is next to none. And so that's how far I've come. And beyond that, I joined the national communications team. I'm in the Lejokuku constituency.
Okay.
My member of parliament is the Honorable Ben Ayiku, who is rerunning, and we are hoping to retain the seat. I'll mention the name of our contender. Yes, but we are hoping to retain the seat in Lejokuku and to retire our contender for life.
Okay.
Yeah.
You spoke about wanting to make an impact. What impact specifically? I mean, from that point of view of being a woman in politics.
So you see, many women dread politics. I have never dreaded politics. I don't know what I dread in life, actually.
Okay.
Maybe mathematics, but I'll come to that later. But that's just by the way.
That makes two of us.
So you see, and so I see many young women like my type asking, now how do you do it? This is difficult. How do you manage home, manage politics, manage work, do all that? And I tell them that, well, it is me hitting my chest and saying that, this is somebody who has done it. I can do it and even more. And so for me, the impact is that I want young women like my type seeing you and saying that, hey, sis, this is an invitation, come, let's do politics. Of course, you are doing politics on another level. Politics is impact. And so in your own small way, you are making impact. I am making impact in my own small, maybe from the political party point of view. And so we are all in politics. The church is in politics. Businesses are in politics. It's all about development. And so for me, the impact is that more girls should see me and know that it is, you can do it. More girls should see me and know that, it's tough as a woman in politics, but it is also how, maybe to say, the approach you give to it. You find mentors who are supporting you. You learn, but when you make mistakes, you don't give up. You don't throw your hands in despair. You learn from the mistakes, and then you continue. Another impact is the fact that, you see, many young girls have given up on life. Many young girls can't chase their dream any longer. Many young girls, are in all forms of maybe spheres. Ideally, if life had offered them opportunities, they wouldn't be. And so for some of us, we come into the space knowing that we can reach out to them one at a time. Maybe not 1,000 girls at a time, but maybe one girl at a time. On the streets, you're driving, you find a girl, you stop, you engage the girl. At church, you find a girl, you engage the girl. In the community, you find a girl, you engage the girl. And so for us, it's the impact one girl at a time.
Okay, very well. And I'm just going to, based on the response to this question, just zoom straight into the NDC's 2024 manifesto and plans for women. You talked about the impact or the essence of visibility of role models. And how it's necessary for me to see the woman up there and say that, okay, if she's there, I can be there as well. Is that the influencing factor in this promise of a minimum of 30% quota for women in all political appointments? And so maybe if you argue from that point of view, that will amount to tokenism. Okay. There are more women in Ghana than men. And so for me, 30%, personally, not enough. Okay. But I think that it shows the NDC commitment to saying that we will do it and measure us by this indicator. Some other political parties will say that, would give women appointment, and then they give 1-2 appointment and say that they are women in politics. But for us, this is the indicator. Measure us by 30% of appointments. Maybe going forward, we'll do 40, we'll do 50, and who knows, we'll do 60% women and 40% men. And so for me, I think that the NDC has put itself out there saying that measure me by this indicator. And so it is not even about role models and wanting to push women, whether they, they have the competencies or not. Some time back, our president Adanko Akufo-Addo was on an international platform and says that Ghanaian women are not dynamic enough, and I'm sure you heard that. But for us in the NDC, we think and we know that women are extremely dynamic. Let me take you to the days of the 31st December Women's Movement. It was made up of very dynamic women. And let us not lose sight of the fact that there are more women-led households. It is not all households that are men-led. They are women-led households, and they are doing extremely well. And so for us, we believe that women, Ghanaian women for that matter, have shown enough dynamism. Now, the challenge is that, you see, when you have some demographics, men, women, children, you have to actually see that what are the inhibiting factors for men for progress? What are the inhibiting factors of women for progress? What are the inhibiting factors for young people for progress? What the NDC has identified is that the inhibiting factors for women is that they have not been given the opportunity
And so for us, this time around, we are giving women the opportunity. Now, it is the NDC that gave Ghana the first female Speaker of Parliament. Right? You know that. It is the NDC that gave Ghana the first female Attorney General. So when it comes to giving women the opportunity to break the glass ceiling, the NDC is, no political party comes close to us. Now, in this year's election, even in the 2020 election, we nominated Professor Nana Jane Opoku Ajman, ma'am, good day. And then we have re-nominated her. What I'm saying is that if the NDC was not committed to inclusivity, we may not have re-nominated her. Okay. But her nomination and re-nomination is an indication that the NDC is a party that gives women the opportunity to thrive. Okay. Now, it is not because she is a woman, but she's a woman of her own stature, an accomplished woman, the first female vice chancellor of the university I attended. And so for us, it is not about just giving women the opportunity. What we believe is that, unlike President Danko Akufo-Addo, who thinks that women are not dynamic, we think that Ghanaian women are extremely dynamic. It is the inhibiting factors to their progress, that we must take away. Then they would have, the full force to thrive, full force to make impact.
Okay. You know why it's interesting, this minimum 30% quota? Because, and correct me if I'm wrong, either your 2012 or 2008 manifesto had a similar promise of appointing a certain quota of women. That didn't happen. How will things pan out differently this time if the NDC wins?
So it was the 2020 election, but we never got to win the 2020.
No, it wasn't.
It was 2020. It was 2020, and we never got to win that election. And so in 2024, when we win that election, we are going to ensure that 30% of our appointments are women.
I would refer to that. I'm just looking at the statistics, and I'll come back to that. But talk to us about the NDC's plans as far as economic empowerment of women is concerned.
So before we even delve into the plan, let's look at the few inhibitions that exist for women. I've stated that there are so many women-led households, and these women-led households have one or more inhibitions. One is that the much-needed economic freedom doesn't exist. It is because women don't have, when it comes to ownership of land in this country, it has some biases that more men tend to own land than women. And so if you go to a bank and the bank says that bring a collateral as land and you're a woman, that is your very first inhibition, right? People need capital to start business. Those who are managing small businesses say we need capital to expand the businesses. Young girls are unable to go to school because at that time of the month, they can't afford sanitary pads because the prices keep skyrocketing. And so for the NDC, it is not just even about economic independence or economic freedom or economic empowerment of women. For us, it is the economic and the socio-political. So I'll start. The nomination and re-nomination of Professor Nana Jane Opoku Ajman, like I've stated, should tell you. Secondly, we are bringing the Women Development Bank. This is a special purpose bank. It will be run by women. And so from the board chair to the least person at the Women Development Bank will be run by women. You see, what it does is that it gives the ordinary Ghanaian woman on the street the chest, the boldness to say that this is my colleague woman. And it is a special purpose bank. Documentation and all those complexities you may experience in our ordinary banks or the existing bank would not be the same with the Women Development Bank. What I'm saying is that once the women know that this bank, it was built to serve women, women are running it, the quest to go there would be higher than going to some of the existing banks. Now, to also say that, you see, the current interest rates, I can't really put the rate across now, but I think it's ranging almost 35% interest rate. Now, if the market rate is 35%, what the Women Development Bank is promising that we are giving rates below the market rate. So if a bank is giving you, for example, 30% interest rate, the Women Development Bank should be giving something around 20%, 10% interest rate. It relieves you of the economic burden, the sleeplessness of I have taken bank's money, I must make money and go and repay and all that. So in this case, the first thing is that because it's run by women, the women will have the quest to go. Secondly, the interest rates are below the current market
So it's not
rates.
like it's a static thing, it's dependent on the market rate.
So when you say dependent, to mean that if the current interest rate on the market is 35, the Women Development Bank is giving below 35.
So
you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Good.
So if it's 25, it's below.
It's below.
Okay.
It's below. So we are giving below the market rates, and so that more women can go. And then what the NDC is saying is that we will give a minimum of 1 million women access to loans. Now you see. So
through this vehicle of Women's Development Bank.
Yes. And so someone will say that, well, so if I'm a career woman, do I have access to it? The qualification is that you must be a woman. Maybe by extension. Maybe by extension of working class.
Okay.
Of working age, I should say. And so if I am a banker and I say that, well, I need capital to start selling something on the side. Now it's very difficult to run on one income stream. And so you may be doing your 8 to 5 job, but you need capital to start a side business. You've learned a skill, you need capital to start. That is the purpose of the Women Development Bank.
So you've spoken about the Women's Development Bank, and this is under the sub-theme of economic empowerment. There are many Ghanaian women who are into agriculture, who are into farming, and the structural problems that they face, access to land, access to loans, the financing, dealing with the vagaries of the weather and how to overcome all those problems. What is the NDC's vision for such women?
Good. And so I'll come back quickly, but toward that, the Women Development Bank will not just give the women money. We also give them other tailor-made services, whether it is on financial literacy, whether it is on guidance on on the prudent application of the money. So it is not just the money, but it's a comprehensive package to give you the money and to give you guidance on the prudent application of the money. Now, on your question, the NDC also intends to launch the Women Agriculture Initiative, and you've stated access to land, access to capital to be able to finance your agriculture needs. And so the NDC is saying that we'll launch the Women Agriculture Initiative. And so beyond the Women Development Bank, women agriculture will receive very, key support. So if it is access to land, instead of using government land for swimming pools, if it's allowed to be said that way, you could give the land to women who don't have land of their own. The only thing is that they are plowing the land. Anytime government needs its land, the land is available. How about that? How about saying that, well, so this is government lands. People are doing galamsey on the land, spoiling our water bodies. This is a woman says, I don't have access to land. Can we arrange with the district assemblies to say that, okay, so this portion of land is for government. How many women can we give it? Even if we can't give it to individual women, can we give it to women groups? So we know that we have given this parcel of land belonging to government to this women group on these terms, right? And we are adding access to finance so that at least they can till the land, they can harvest the land, and they will sell the produce, make money, and then the economic empowerment also continues from there. Now, you see, many of our women also, and like I said, it's not just the economic. We are looking at their socio-cultural empowerment, their well-being and all that. Many of our mothers ply their trade in our markets. Now, when you see the state of our market, it should tell you that no government, aside an NDC government, has the interest of our market women at heart. And so I'm bringing your mind to the KJTR market. I'm bringing your mind to the Kotokraba market and other markets of these likes that under former President Mahama, we renovated and we expanded. And so the NDC also intends that in the interest of women, so that at least where they ply their trade is safe for them, we'll resume our market enhancement program so that we would improve the conditions under which our mothers ply their trade in the market. Some of the extension will be, and two key things I'll share with you: a mini clinic, so that you will not have to abandon your trade and say that I am going all the way to Kolebu to seek healthcare. And so there, if you have a mini clinic, you just walk in there. And you know, the trouble of being in the market and shouting, I'm selling this, I'm selling this. You could go to the clinic and check little things like BP, like sugar, so that the conditions won't escalate before you know it. Once it is within close proximity, there is a tendency that you could just abandon your trade for like 5 minutes, go and check it and come back, and you are back to your trade. The other thing is that as part of the expansion, the NDC intends to add nursery schools. And so what we'll do is that we would, there are so many teachers who are currently unemployed. And so for us, the expansion would add a nursery school. So at the nursery school, if you're a nursing mother and you are working in the market, and mind you, there are banks in the market. So not to say that the nursery is for babies whose mothers are only selling in the market. There are banks in the market. There are post offices in markets. There are, like I mentioned, there will be clinics in the market. And so for all these people who would be accommodated to be working in the market by dint of the expansion, there is the nursery aspect that when you come into the market, you can leave your child, and then you have peace to ply your trade. When the child closes, you come for the child on. When you close, you go for your child. And
so this is for the informal sector.
But you see, it also benefits the formal sector.
And I was going to ask about that, because we've heard and read stories about the need to have a labor act and review the act as we have it now, so that issues such as maternity leave, issues such as female staff being able to have a place where they can nurse even their babies and have the daycare you're talking about. All these things should be encapsulated so that it can improve the lot of women, especially in the workplace.
Indeed. And so two quick things. The NDC is proposing that maternity leave will be extended to 4 months. It should tell you that we are here to make sure that the Ghanaian woman is well protected. I mean, many advocate for 6 months, and currently it is 3 months. The NDC is saying that we'll add an extra month. We are starting from the who knows. We'll get to the 6 months after all legislation and all consultations have been duly done. And what I'm also saying is that when it comes to the
this is paid or
yes, paid.
It's paid.
Oh yes, paid.
4 months.
Yes, paid. Yes, for 4 months.
I'm going to ask about the cost element, but I'm sure it's something.
So you see, even the 4th month that you allow the woman to leave the child and come to work, I maybe from experience, that the woman is there in appearance and not productivity.
Okay.
Because much of the time the woman is there but not there. I hope you understand. So ideally allow the woman to be home, right? In the 4th month. Because I'm not saying that, so in the 5th month when the woman comes, boom, productivity. What I'm saying is that in the 4th month, by the time the woman is leaving the child at home or in the nursery and coming to school, the woman is just making appearance. But for every minute calling the child on video, how is the child and all that, and wanting to close earlier than usual and what have you. So what I'm saying is that the NDC is the party for women. We are extending paid maternity leave from 3 months to 4 months.
Is it because of the financial implications? That's why you're not proposing 6 months, because we know that health experts have talked about 6 months exclusive breastfeeding, and so that's the understanding behind maternity leave being 6 months. I'm wondering financial implications. So rather than 6 months, you do 4 months.
Well, not financial implications alone. So you see, like I told you, the NDC will not bring out any policy without doing 360 consultation. At the heart of the maternity leave is the employer.
Okay.
The one who is actually giving the employment. So government is an employer. Private sector is also an employer. And so if private sector says that, well, we don't want the 4 months, and mothers are saying we want 6 months, there should always be a compromising grounds. And so even if government says that, well, let's do 6 months, private sector that employs more people says that, well, the 6 months will not, work for us. You can't actually, as a government, say, I won't listen, I won't impose. So I'm saying is that after consultation with, women of Ghana, after consultation with the employers, it is, I think you'd agree that it is prudent that to start, let us start with 4 months. Let's see how effective that will be. If there is the need for us to do a few changes, review, what have you, why not?
Okay.
We'll always do that. Now, the NDC is not also a party that focuses, like I said, women. We have young girls at heart. And if you remember, it is the NDC that came into power, and we shared sanitary pads for girls in school and out of school.
And I see that as point 7,
Exactly.
free sanitary pads for female students in basic and secondary schools. So I gather this is something that a future NDC government would like to continue.
Exactly. So we'd like to continue. I'm not sure that you have seen this government share sanitary pads. I come from a reproductive health background also. And when you visit the grounds, the girls tell you that, well, it's the time of the month. I can't afford sanitary pad. And so I'm staying home 5 days or 6 days in a month. Now, if there are 3 terms or 4 terms if there are 4 months in a term, and then the girl child stays at home every month 5 days, that amounts to 20 days of absenteeism. And so we shout and sustainable development goals based on equality and what have you. But on the ground, the little things that we can do to ensure that we bridge the gender gap, the little things that we can do to ensure that at least we are keeping girls in school. I mean, what is free SHS if the beneficiary cannot benefit, right? And so give the girls sanitary pads. Ensure that they are in school. Nothing takes a girl or a woman's confidence than a staying self. And the production team here may not understand, but you would, that nothing takes the confidence of a woman than a staying self. You just want to get into hiding so that you know you are free. So these girls will stay at home to ensure that I don't come to school to embarrass myself. But the lessons are not waiting for you. The lessons are running. And the boy child is in the class benefiting.
Okay.
And so when the NDC started this initiative, it was poo-pooed by the NPP that the NDC wants to use the sanitary pad for things I don't want to mention such an esteemed platform.
Okay.
So we are saying that we are resuming it to ensure that more girls get to stay
And
in
I get
school.
it, it's for every girl child.
Every
at
girl,
basic and secondary.
every girl child.
But here's a question. What about, and the conversation about sanitary pads, taxing sanitary products, very topical. What about targeting that? I mean, in addition or maybe in exchange, I do not know. But then, is there any plan to ensure that the taxes on sanitary products are removed so that those who are not benefiting from these free distributions will at least be able to afford them?
Indeed. And so you see, in the next NDC government, what we are proposing first is the free distribution of sanitary pads.
Okay.
I was telling a friend a while ago that I visited Botswana, and there are pad banks in schools and in the communities.
Okay.
So whilst we battle, for example, Station of Ghana Industries on taxes and what have you, the starting point is to ensure that can government cushion. So if the girl needs 2 sanitary pads in a month, or let's say 3 sanitary pads in a month, and government decides that, well, so I'm giving 2. Now the difficulty of buying 3 is taken away, and so what the girl would now need to do is to buy just one. You get what I mean? And so beyond the sharing, going forward, I'm sure that an NDC government will consider the pad banks.
This is not just you conjecturing, right?
Not at all.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that, so now it is free, right, to share. But beyond that, pad banks, and I'm saying this is something I learned when I went to Botswana.
Okay.
And so in the communities and in the schools, pad banks would follow the free distribution. And so the distribution would, okay, we are in school. Can we do every month? Can we do every quarter? How many will the girl need every quarter? The girl will need 10. Okay, have your 10 and go. Or you need 12. Okay, we can cushion you with 8. At least, so now your burden is to get to buy 2. But beyond that, so that we ensure a certain continuity, the NDC government, I'm sure, would consider the pad banks, like I've said, in schools and out of school.
So just on that, the frequency, is it already settled, or this is something that will be decided?
So I'm sure that the gender committee of the NDC would
decide
look
the
at that.
frequency of the distributions.
I can't talk to frequency.
Okay. All right. usually when we talk about women, we tend to treat them as an indigenous group that is every woman is the same culture, same background, same abilities, and all that. But we do know that there are different groups of minorities, even in that sector or that group of women. What is the NDC's plan for other women? I'm talking about persons with disability.
Good. And so the NDC would provide targeted support to women with disability to ensure their welfare and empowerment. And so when on the broader disability, the NDC has said that all persons living with disability, free tertiary education for
from first year to fourth year.
Yes, free for you. But I don't want to use the word abled people. Other people benefit Especially abled people benefit just the first year. And so for us, all persons living with disability, free tertiary education for you. Now, beyond that, we ensure that our tertiary institutions have the fluidity of mobility. And so you enter into a lecture hall, it's a tall building,
accessibility of these buildings.
We ensure that the accessibility is more fluid. So that it's not just about saying that it is free.
How are you going to
now
ensure
you
that?
Get there. So
at the University of Ghana, for instance, JQB, if you needed to go to, there are stairs. And so for somebody who was in a wheelchair, that was quite difficult. And I know that the moratorium on ensuring that all public buildings are accessible to PWDs has long expired.
So what we are saying is that we ensure their welfare and empowerment. On welfare, so the JQB you are talking about, what would it take to create a little access? I don't think it would take the 58 million that has been used to dig a hole in the name of a national cathedral. So what I'm saying is that for us in the NDC, it will be prudent use of resources to ensure that people like this, all these intersectionalities, their welfare are catered. And so if it is JQB wanting an access so that persons living with disability can apply with their wheelchair, what have you, why not? See, it is only the NDC that gave a braille version of our manifesto. It should tell you that we wanted to speak to everybody. I mean, everybody to understand that the NDC has your welfare at heart. And so that is where it starts from, that persons living with disability can hear and they can make informed choices on election day. And so we won't just come and give you a braille version and after voting we won't do what we have said in the manifesto. So for us, anything that ensures the welfare and the empowerment of persons living with disability, we are for it.
So that's for public buildings. We have to consider private institutions as well, private offices as well. Has there been any thought in that regard? And so,
I mean, you see, so Ghana has legislation on giving access to persons with disabilities in all buildings. It is just that enforcement has been left to the persons living with disability to go and enforce. I mean, by enforcing, they get in, they are shouting, I cannot get in, can somebody help me get in? So what the NDC will be committed to doing, and I've stated that whatever ensures the welfare. And so access is part of the welfare of persons living with disability. But we cannot mention them, by the finest of these. What I'm saying is that if access is part of the welfare of a person wanting to seek health care, why not? We ensure that it will be targeted so that persons living with disability, they are empowered and their welfare is taken care of.
We're still speaking to Naatwe Nyodbe, a member of the NDC's communications team, looking into detail about the party's plans and promises for women as we prepare for the general elections on December 7th. So Naatwe, we've spoken a lot about economic empowerment. You've touched a bit on education with the free sanitary pad distribution, but there is a point here that I'm interested in because I want to find the details of it. You say that you provide educational scholarships, vocational training, and enterprise development support for KAI. What does this enterprise development support consist of?
And so you see, many young girls would come to, Accra in search of what they say greener pastures. But of course, where are the greener pastures? They come, and the greener pastures they are coming to is, like, for example, carrying headpans with loads. Some of them are carrying twins. What we are saying is that if it is a skill they want to learn, what we are saying is that if it is capital, they would want to start an enterprise. You see, we will work in the north to ensure that the migration reduces. But for some who are insistent on coming and come by all means, we should not leave them to the vulnerabilities of the streets. We should not leave them on their own to make bad choices, to add on to their already existing, problems we have as a country, population growth and unemployment and all that. So while the NDC will work towards ensuring that we are empowering the part of the country where they are come from, so that they can be there and then work there and know that the greener pasture they are looking for is not only in Accra. Those who have found themselves here, or those who will find themselves here by whatever means, will make them enterprising. And by enterprising, it's not just the carrying of the load. Beyond the carrying of the load, what skill do you want to learn? Beyond the carrying
So are you seeking to get them out of that profession?
As many of them that we can get out of the street, out of the, carrying of the loads with their children behind them. So you see, the children are behind them, they are carrying because they don't make enough from, if it were a greener pasture, they would have put their kids to school. It should tell you that they've not made enough. So they are carrying the loads behind them, that's the children, and they are carrying the loads on their head. And so it should tell you that they need the greener pasture, maybe in a more organized way. So for example, if it is a skill they want to learn, like I'm saying, if it is a trade they want to ply, the NDC is there to support them, to get as many of them off the street. Now, when you get them off the street, right, and you're able to also train them to know that, or encourage them or discipline them to know that, let your sisters back home know that the streets are not unsafe. For lack of a better expression, for the trade you come here to ply, they would be advocates against their younger siblings coming all the way to Accra. And so to let them also know that the greener pastures you're looking for, it's in the Savannah region, it's in the Northeast region, it's in the Western region, it's in the Eastern region, not necessarily having to come to Accra, to a land of nowhere. On their terms.
But the argument is until they can feel it in the various regions they are, that, well, I can make it here without necessarily going to the capital, Accra, because there's so much concentration in the capital. So if they cannot feel it there, really, you can't fault them.
If the one district, one factory were promised had worked, wouldn't see the levels of migration we are seeing, because the factories will be in their vicinities, right? And so the NDC is promising on a number of things, decentralization. For example, enlistment into the police service, recruitment into the police and other services would be decentralized, so that not everybody is saying that I have to come to Accra to get enlisted, to get recruited. And so these, among other things, the NDC believes that let us decentralize it. So that people on the ground, people at various places will get something to do with their hands. So don't say that the greener pasture is in Accra. It is not in Accra. You and I know.
So I'm interested in gender-based violence because I think it's more often than not we sweep it under the carpet. I've seen in your manifesto a survivor's care kit. Explain what this is. To the layman listening or watching.
So you see, many people who actually condone, right, sexual and gender-based violence, they want to live with it, is because they are looking beyond the pain. How would I survive? And so the one inflicting the pain may be the one feeding you. The one inflicting the pain is the one who is housing you. And so you can't imagine yourself on the street and the stigma you would face. But they also don't look at the implication, the effects of the abuse on themselves. So what the NDC is saying is that would resource the stakeholders that manage cases like this. DOFSU, SHRAG, the Ministry for Gender and Social Protection and what have you. Beyond that, what would they need to survive? And so if I'm a woman, maybe for 6 months, what would I need to survive outside the pain I am in? Outside the pain, would I need money for survival? Would I need a place to live? Would I need security? And so when we say kit, it goes beyond maybe some form of packaged, so maybe this is a pen, this is a book for you to be writing, and what the sanitary part. Beyond that, is it a place to stay temporarily? Is it maybe someone to talk to? So what the NDC is promising is that we would ensure that persons who are abused, one will speak up to resource the stakeholders that manage, or counter sexual and gender-based violence, and would ensure that there is support for the victims. Like I said earlier, the victim is in the situation because if I leave this violent situation, how do I survive? The stigma and what have you. And so NDC will create these avenues so that it is easier, right, for persons who are being abused in one form or the other to exit. Now, people watching, sexual and gender-based violence does not only affect women, though, disproportionately more women and girls suffer it. Men are also abused.
Yeah.
And so men must also be encouraged to speak up. And so for what I've outlined today, I don't know which intersectionality of the population the NDC leaves out. And that's why I would appeal to the good people of Ghana to trust John Dramani Mahama, the gentleman that has the perfect pair of hands to reset Ghana and actually to bring jobs, development to this country.
So many promises, not even just on the gender aspect, economy, other aspects, but looking at what you've outlined here, and this is a question that is on the minds of a lot of people who are watching and listening to us. Where is the money going to come from to fund these? What is the cost element, the financial aspect of it? What kind of considerations have you given? And we're wrapping up as you answer this question.
I would say this, and I wish I could say it 1,000 times. Your taxes would work. Your taxes will not dig holes. Your taxes will not be stashed under beds. Your taxes will not be hoarded to say that we want to buy state assets. And so the financing aspect, to answer that question, it is simple. The taxes of the ordinary Ghanaian would be put to use for the benefit of the ordinary Ghanaian.
And I know I said this is the last question, but your answer makes me want to ask another. Is it the understanding that there is an untapped pool of resources to use for these projects? Because, like it or not, fiscal space is tight.
So you see what I'm saying? Fiscal space is tight, but still governments get money to misappropriate. What is the wisdom in having money from very tight fiscal space and misappropriating it? So for the end, what we are saying is that, bearing in mind that, and this is a gentleman, John Dramani Mahama, who has been in power before, so knows that the fiscal space is tight, knows that we are the IMF. And so the little resources we have would be put to judicious use and would not be misapplied, would not be given to a select few. Every Ghanaian will benefit from the taxes that we pay. And so we understand the fiscal space is very tight. It is tight because the current administration, led by Danko Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia, have actually they've not done right by the Ghanaian people. They've not been disciplined in the expenditure. What John Dramani Mahama is saying, that he will be very prudent with expenditure. He's promised us 60 ministers. He's promised us. He's promised so many ways by which he would ensure that he's cutting expenditure of government.
Okay.
And I think that this discipline that he brings to the table, that he's exhibited before, would make the resources available, however minimum.
Okay.
And then would ensure that it is judiciously applied. Trust the NDC.
So I take that as your final word, trust the NDC.
Yes, trust the NDC and give us the good people of Ghana to vote. This is my camera, right? Good people of Ghana, my name is Nacho Enyokpe. 7th December, come out in your numbers and vote for His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. 7th December, we fair vote in John Dramani Mahama. 7th December, in Ayantuyaba John Dramani Mahama. Washabo Oba, or Women Development Bank Eba. Oba ose market aye ma mo tonton ne am obesiesie kama maye. Oba ose omo a aban we MPP aban we omodi Ghana sika. Obeji sa sika ni nyina na odi aye Ghana ho adwuma ama me ne wo yenya so mfaso.
Okay.
Nyame sha so beto aba ma John Mani Mahama. And so thank you for having me.
And thank you for appearing on the Gender
Thank
Watch
you.
podcast. Na Atrenugbe is an adjunct lecturer with a specialty in public relations, also a member of the NDC's communications team. It's been our conversation on the plans for Ghanaian women by the two main political parties. And I'm sure that you have heard and learned a lot. And as you're preparing to vote on December 7, these conversations would be useful in the decision you make when you go to the polling station to vote. This has been the Gender Watch podcast, an initiative by Aya Institute for Women, Media and Politics. I'm Regina Bote, and I've loved every bit of it. Do catch us another time for another insightful conversation on pressing issues relating to gender as we prepare for election 2024.